We don't have to use a graph to come up with an equation of the line, though. We can just figure it out algebraically by using the slope formula. Remember, slope is m. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So, write an equation of the line which passes through the points -6, -1, and 2, -13. We want to write it in the form y equals mx plus b, and there are two ways to do this. First, you have to find slope using this formula here. It doesn't matter which coordinate point you call your x1, y1, and which one you call x2, y2, but you're going to sub it into this fraction formula right here. M equals -13 y2 minus -1 over 2 minus -6. Minus negative is positive, double negative. Add across the top, -13 plus 1. Add across the bottom, 2 plus 6. And then simplify your fraction over all. I can take a 4 out of both of those numbers here. So that is my slope. Now that I have slope, I can do two different things to actually figure out this equation right here. You can either say, okay, let's use either of these coordinate points as my x and y value here. So I am going to just sub in the first one. So y was -1, my slope was -3/2, my x value was the -6, and I don't know what b is. So I used this for my x and y, and this for my m, and I don't know what b is. But I can multiply this out and solve for b, because that's the only unknown. If you multiply -3/2 times -6, you'll get +9, because it's double negative. And then in order to solve for b, I need to subtract my 9 over to the other side, and I would get -10 equals b. So in order for me to write my equation y equals mx plus b, I would have y equals my m value is found in part A, generic x, and my b value is -10. So here's my equation. So for that one, we used the m value here, and you can plug in either of these coordinate points in for your x and y value, and then you'd have to solve for b. And once you know what b is, you can write y equals mx plus b. The second way is to use something called point slope form. I don't like this because I don't like to memorize more things, and we already know mx plus b. So I don't always use this form, but if you do know this form and you don't mind memorizing an extra equation, it's a lot faster in my opinion. Okay, so for this point slope form, your x and y stay x and y's, but this x1 and y1 says we're going to plug in specific coordinate points here. And you can choose either these x1, y1s or these x2, y2s. So I'm going to leave this as a generic y, and then my y1 was -1. So y minus -1, minus negative, double negative makes it positive, equals m, we know what our m value is, x, this time my x is a generic x, just like my y, minus x1. x1 is a -6, so minus -6 makes that a positive. Okay, so you leave your x and y generically, but your x1 and y1 you replace with the coordinate point. And the m we found from above, just like before. All right, so how does this help me? I can distribute this -3/2 here to get rid of my parentheses. And then solve for y, so I'd have to subtract my 1 over to the other side. Combine like terms, the 1 and the 9 are both constant whole numbers. And so now I have my equation of the line. Same exact equation that I found before, it's just, do you prefer to plug in your coordinate point, solve for b, and then write y equals mx plus b? Or do you prefer to plug in your coordinate point into point slope form and distribute and subtract over to get your form?